All right, sir. We are on. We are on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. I am your host, Mark Ross, and with me this evening, I have a good buddy of mine that we became acquainted, and we had good conversation, and now we're here. Mr. Jeff Luther, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. Good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get started, brother Jeff, just give me a little background about who you are and what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Background,
Yes, sir.
entrepreneur, father. I'm a father to three amazing young kids, man. I hit the lottery. I say young men. I mean, they're 19, 17, and 15 now. Started a business 20 something years ago. Super fit dude, into CrossFit, ultra running. I always tell folks I'm a reformed cyclist. And then 2 years ago, I was doing a CrossFit workout. I was with my oldest son and my heart stopped. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back to that episode. How were you feeling before it happened?
man, so this part of the story builds my ego. So I'm going to just go with it.
Yeah. Let's go with it.
So it happened on June the 12th. On June the 5th, I had just ran an ultra marathon, a 50K overnight race, and came in second place. So
second,
not first, dude. It's some young kid ran me right off his wheels, dude. I mean, I couldn't. I showed up to that race to win. I was only there to win.
Yeah.
And didn't do it. So I was feeling good. I mean, I was feeling good. I took the week off, stretched, recovered. And I mean, I pay attention to my body. I listen to my body. And I was in that workout, and it wasn't happening.
So when you went down, talk to us about that episode, because we talked about it, but just share for the podcast sake what went down when you went down.
Yeah, I'll give you play by play. I remember everything. So it was me, and it was a partnered workout. And for any of your listeners that have ever done CrossFit and they've done a partnered workout, it's when you're working out with your partner, like you're super close. You know, your partner's on rep number 5, or you're on rep number 5, your partner's counting. And also, if you get a little bit ahead of your partner, you get a little bit of an edge, you can bury them. And that day, and my son's a pretty strong dude, so I was burying him that day. I was ahead. I was putting him in the hurt locker, and we were doing wall balls. And so I'd done like 5 wall balls, and I felt my pulse racing in my neck, like a really rapid heart rate. It's like, and that had happened a few times when I would run. I would go on long runs. I would get that same feeling. I would just, like, sometimes I have to walk or slow down. So I just slowed down for a second, and then it sped up, and I started to feel lightheaded. Like, I mean, when I say it was rapid, it was rapid. So I started feeling a little bit lightheaded. I was like, all right, well, I'll take a break. It'll go away in a few seconds. And it didn't go away. It's like, all right, I need to take a knee. And Mark, I don't take a knee. Like, I don't take a knee. I suffer. So I took a knee, and then I was like, oh man, I'm lightheaded. This is not going away. I'm just going to take another knee. So I took another knee, and I was sitting on my heels, kind of sitting back. And there's a dude beside me in the rack doing squats, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, hey, are you okay? And I'm like that tough guy. I don't want anybody to touch me. I was like, I'm scared. I'm vulnerable. I don't know what's happening. Get your hands off me. And then, like, in an instant, in less than a half a second, I was like, whoa, I'm scared. I'm vulnerable. Please don't take your hand off of me, man. I don't know what's happening. And then it just got worse. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to lay down. So I had this wall ball, imagine like a medicine ball sitting in my lap. And I just laid over on the medicine ball, and I rolled all the way over it. So my face hit the gym floor. And I was looking to the left, and the last thing I saw was my son's white Metcons walking towards me. And I was like, I got to get up. Like, I've got to get up. And it's not like in the movies, people get shot in the movies and you see them crawling. And my brain told me to get up, but it was like there was no hydraulic fluid in my body. Like I couldn't move. And I was out, and that was it. Somebody walked up and turned the lights out.
So you were out. So how long were you out?
I was out for 8 minutes. I went 8 minutes with no pulse, no breath. They were doing chest compressions. The long and short of it, like they did chest compressions. They put me in ice. So remember, this was in June in Charleston, South Carolina, in a gym with no air conditioning. So it's like a big metal warehouse. Yeah.
Oh my
So
goodness.
they're covering me with ice, doing chest compressions. And then somebody thought, it was about minute 3, somebody thought, okay, well, we have this defibrillator, this AED. So somebody went and grabbed the AED. They put that on me. And those things take a minute. It takes a minute for them to find a rhythm. That's what it does. It looks for a heart rhythm. It's not like on the movies, man, where somebody's dead and they shock them and they come back to life.
Right.
Like there's criteria you have to meet. So it had to detect a rhythm. It detected no rhythm. So it said continue to do chest compressions. It's kind of idiot proof. Now remember, my 16-year-old son is watching all this. So it said no rhythm, do chest compressions. So they do chest compressions. Another minute goes by. Then it found a rhythm and it said initiating shock. So that takes about 30 seconds to spool up, initiates the shock. It shocked me. And when it shocked me, I flatlined, like it gives an audible flatline. So nothing. And then it said no rhythm detected, continue chest compression. So they did compressions again. It shocked me again. It found a rhythm. And my son says that it didn't work the second time. I have conflicting data on that. Obviously, I don't know. But he says he thinks it's 3. And the other folks say it was the second time that worked. It shocked me. My heart came back online. And here's the weirdest thing that people are gonna have so many questions about, like what happens when you die. But the weirdest thing is that I woke up screaming. I mean screaming, like it was the most eerie, deep scream I can imagine. And I don't know if that's what woke me up or if I woke up and started screaming. They say that your body re-energizes, after when you come back to life, that you have all the energy needs a place to dissipate. So that was weird, but it was like I just woke up. I woke up, I was wet and I was cold, and I was like, what happened? Like, are we gonna finish this workout? Like, what's up?
Are you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I really, and then, so I'll tell you this piece, and remember this. I had this horrible taste in my mouth, right? And the only thing I could relate it to was a hangover. So, and I don't drink. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And I looked at my coach that was standing there. I said, man, I must have gotten drunk last night and I passed out. And he said, nah, I don't think that was it. Because the EMTs were coming in at this point. I had the stickers on my chest. I had the pads on my chest, all that stuff. And so that horrible taste stuck with me. I was like, man, that's just the weirdest taste. I mean, it's just anybody that's ever had a really nasty hangover knows what I'm talking about. It's bad.
Yeah, I do. Oh man. But while you were under, man, did you experience anything?
Man.
Because you said you woke up screaming. So
I woke up screaming, yeah.
So did you experience anything while you were gone?
Man, nothing. Nothing. And I've tried to convince myself that I did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sounds like it by the way I woke up, right?
Yes.
But it's like somebody walks up and turns the lights out and then they walk up and turn them back on. That's what happened. It's crazy.
And what was your son going through during that time?
Yeah. So he lost it. And I found this out. So this is like a whole other conversation or episode. To parents out there, ask your kid the hard questions. Ask them the hard questions. Because
Mm.
I didn't know what was happening, right? You know, I mean, obviously I'm out. So even 6 months later, I was like, hey, Cash, you know, you okay? You want to talk to anyone about all this stuff? And he's like, no, I'm fine. So finally one day you know, a few things happened where I was like, man, this kid needs some help. He needs to get this out, air it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, so tell me what happened. And I'll summarize it for you, but he lost his shit when it
Mm.
flatlined. You know, you hear that on the movies. You know, you hear
Mm-hmm.
the audible, the beep. So he lost it when that happened. And our weightlifting coach happened to be there doing the workout. So she grabbed him and pulled him back. And when she grabbed him and pulled him back, all the people in the gym stood around my body so that he couldn't see it. And they
Mm.
just she pulled him over. She had to push him. She
Mm.
had to push him up against the wall and hold him against the wall. And everybody else just made a curtain around me so that he couldn't see. And then she ended up walking him out when it happened again. So
Mm. And how is
yeah,
it now?
he's good now. It took some therapy, took a lot of talking about it, a lot of bringing it up because he wouldn't. So here, what happened? He wrestled also. So he was in a wrestling match, and it just so happened the dude that he was wrestling got his arm twisted up somehow. I don't really know what happened, and they both rolled, and it broke the kid's arm, and it was a nasty break.
Mm.
Horrible to look at. People in the stands screamed. And so my son, again, he lost it. He was screaming. He hit his head on the mat, gave himself a concussion. So I came out of the stands and I grabbed him and I was holding him. I was like, dude, you're okay. You're okay. He's going to be okay. It's a broken arm. He's okay. And my son looked at me. He said, I can't hear the sirens. I can't hear the sirens. It's like, oh shit.
Oh,
We got something we got to deal with. So
yeah.
that's when I had to start backing up and start asking the questions. But the trigger for him was hearing the flat line. He said after he heard the flat line, that's when he heard the sirens of the EMTs coming. And
Mm.
you know, I didn't know what was happening, but I knew it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So did he go for counseling or
Went for counseling. Yeah. Finally.
yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, look, you know, you're a male. It's weak to go to counseling. It's not cool to go to counseling. You're crazy if you go to counseling. All these things that as a teenage boy, a young man, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
he never knew how to work past. And I would ask him, "Hey, are you okay?" Yeah. Oh, great. Now I don't have to do anything hard, right?
Mm.
It's like parents ask their kids, "Hey, are you on drugs?" No. Okay, thank God, because I was going to have to deal with that. Now I don't have to deal with it because you told me you're not. So I did the same shit to my kid. I was
Yeah.
asking if he was okay. He was saying, "Yeah," and that took the burden off me. Shame on me, but I was
But you didn't
avoiding
know
the hard
either.
work.
You didn't know. You asked a question he didn't want to tell you.
Yeah.
And Jeff, it goes back to what you were saying about how men view therapy.
Yep. You're weak.
It's been ingrained in us since our generation. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, 55.
Same
Since
here.
even
Yeah.
before our generation, brother, therapy was looked upon as a bad thing.
Yep.
And to some extent, it still is.
Yeah. It's still
Still.
hard. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like just me saying this out loud makes me vulnerable, right? I don't know
yeah.
how you're gonna act, but that's I'm bearing my soul
Mm-hmm.
about therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it just shouldn't be that way. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
weakness.
we were raised to suck it up,
Yep.
you know? And but now you're seeing a lot more suicide and attempted suicide and more homicidal tendencies with the younger generation
Yep.
because they don't know how to handle life or they don't know how to
Yep.
handle trauma when it comes.
Yeah.
And to further that, they weren't taught by their parents of how to deal appropriately
Yep.
with certain things.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh
We
yeah. Yeah.
They just weren't because we weren't. we
It's hard. So now I think like when I deal with my kids, I think get curious. How can I be the reporter? I got to go back and write a story for the paper. How can I be the reporter? Get curious, go to the danger. Another thing I learned about that, like about therapy, probably much like you, Mark. Don't cry, you're weak. Don't be sad, you're weak, all those things.
Yeah.
Well, those were emotions that I never wanted to process as a kid because I didn't want to get hit by my dad. When you cry, then you get hit. You want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about. But it makes it difficult to process the good emotions too, like the happy and the excited. So then men are just like these fucking cinder blocks. You're not allowed to process anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right. How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for 5 days. When I went in, they couldn't diagnose me. Like, oh my God, this guy's super fit. What's this all about? Then they started with the drugs. They were like, all right, so what kind of drugs are you on? What'd you do Friday night? What kind of party and all this stuff? Nothing. How much pre-workout do you take? So this went on for a few days. Went in on Saturday, then Tuesday afternoon, they came in, they said, all right, awesome. We got a diagnosis for you. And you have ARVC, arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. Good news is we can put a defibrillator in you. We'll install it in the morning. And the issue is that you can never exercise again. So I was like,
Ever.
Exercise from that point forward was to be limited to yoga and golf. That's what I was supposed to do. I was like, that's not going to work.
Now, earlier today, I did some research on that ARVC.
Yeah.
And it says that it's a rare inherited heart condition that primarily affects the right ventricle of the heart.
Yep.
And furthermore, the life expectancy of men with that is 41 years of age.
Yep.
With women, it's 71.
Yeah. Women aren't as stupid as men, are they?
No. 41 years.
Yeah.
Life expectancy.
Yep.
So you beat that.
9 years in. I'm still whooping it, man. I'm still whooping it.
You're crushing it, brother.
Yep. Yeah, for my 50th birthday, I did a CrossFit competition with that same kid.
With what kid?
The same kid that was with me. Yeah, with my son. Yeah, with my son that was with me when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I met my goals. My goals were don't die and don't come in last.
Well, and you did both apparently, so that's a good thing.
That's right.
Man. So how did that affect your outlook on life?
Oh man. My plan was to put my running shoes on and to run until I couldn't, to either run until I was dead or to run until my body just gave out and I couldn't run anymore and start over. It put me in a dark place.
Yeah. Yep. Talk about that, man. What was that dark place like for you when they told you couldn't anymore?
So going back to suicide, a lot of men are problem solvers, right? So we want to be in control. We want to solve problems.
Sure.
And when you can't, then you lose hope. So when you can't solve that problem or you find no way out, that's the hopelessness. And the hopelessness is what you want to get away from. It's not the life that you want to get away from. It's the hopelessness.
Sure.
So I became completely hopeless. What was I going to do? I couldn't connect with my kids. I couldn't exercise. I had my identity wrapped up in all this.
Mm-hmm.
That was after the initial diagnosis. And then I went further down. And I'll say this, man, when you fall like I fell, your ego falls harder and faster than you do. And if you're hanging on to that, dude, you better buckle up. It's a
Yes, sir.
rough ride. So after I got my defibrillator installed, discharged from the hospital, it said, hey, you can't do anything for 30 days. You can't pick up a gallon of milk. You can't do anything. Um, After the 30 days was up, I did what any smart male athlete would do. I went back to the gym. I was going to refuse to own this disease, and I was going to refuse for the disease to own me. So I went back to the gym. Me and my son, he encouraged me, wanted me to go back. I think he just wanted to see that I could do something. I think he was just as scared as I was. So my first day back to the gym, we were doing a barbell complex. It's the bear complex, where it's a deadlift, a clean, a hang clean, a squat clean, and then a jerk. So it's a lot of, you're under tension for a good bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened again. The same thing.
Oh.
Yep, my heart got out of rhythm. This one only lasted for about 40 seconds, and my body came out of it on its own. I didn't get shocked. But the thing about that, Mark, is it was that same taste. The same taste was in my mouth.
Oh.
So now I know what death tastes like. And that's when death became real to me. Like, death is so real. It is so real. Like, people talk about it like, oh, I'm not afraid to die. And I've probably said that in the past. You let it come to your door.
Indeed.
That changes. It changes.
Believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in our interview you said that death had a taste.
That's it. That's it.
Death
What happens is, so the first, as your heart, so my heart, what it does is it quivers. I have an electrical signal problem. So my heart will just quiver and it won't pump. It's like, you think about a bilge pump on a boat or a fuel pump on a boat or something. You can squeeze it all the way and it'll pump fuel through there. But if you just barely squeeze it, it just quivers and nothing goes through it. So that's what happens with my heart. It gets a bad signal. So the first thing that happens is the blood, the highest point, gravity, the blood falls out of your head. So when it comes back, you taste the blood come back into your mouth. That's the taste of death. I wish I didn't know it, but I'm one of the few that does. So that shook me to my core.
God. Well, again, I'm glad that you're on the other side of that and we're here talking right now.
Yeah.
How did you find gratitude through all of this?
Gratitude's a bitch. And I'll extend this to anybody that's listening, man.
Gotta work for it, don't you?
Yeah, you do. So gratitude to me was never a thing, I was like, well, gratitude is like, oh, I was in this tree saving a kitten and a storm came up and lightning struck the tree, but it didn't hit me. And I'm so grateful. It had to be like these big, huge things, right? But I was so bitter and so angry and such a victim about everything that had happened to me. It made it worse because you would think, for people to hear my story and hear what happened, they would think, oh my gosh, I bet that dude wakes up every day and smiles and jumps out of bed and hits his knees and prays and says everything's right with the world, God's amazing or whatever. I was so bitter that I could not find any gratitude. All I could think about was what was taken from me. Me. And then that sent me into depression. So now, I'm dealing with this thing that I can't exercise. I'm dealing with this health issue. I'm dealing with a heart that's going to malfunction any second. And I'm thinking about it constantly. I'm living in fear. And then I'm like, now I'm a piece of shit because I can't even find gratitude. That was big. That hurt me. That hurt me mentally. And then here's the way that this whole thing went down. I was walking on the beach one day and I was like, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And I started thinking, I was like, all right, well, maybe my body will react different to this. Yeah, I don't know. Like, why are some people allergic to shellfish? Okay, so all right, I'm not allergic to shellfish. Like shrimping here in Charleston, that's a big thing. So I love to go catch shrimp and we bring them home, we cook them that
Oh, is
whole
it?
bit. Yeah, it's so fun. Um, and so I was like, all right, well, here's the good thing is that I'm not allergic to shrimp. I can eat shellfish. And so I just kind of started thinking, well, some people are allergic to shrimp. Why are they? Well, maybe I'm not gonna, maybe this disease will be different for me. And then I started thinking, okay, well, there's some gratitude there. What's great about this? What's great about this is I'm not dead. That's what's great about this. Yeah, I can't work out on my son anymore, but I could walk on the beach with him. Um, and that's when I was like, all right, well, what can I do?
Yes.
And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can just lift weights just slowly. And so I did what any smart male athlete would do. I went back to the gym.
Again.
I had to choose, Mark. I had to get my life back. Look, here's the thing. Here's what I learned. I learned some lessons in dying. And one of those lessons is that people do not care what happens to you. They don't. And I don't mean that terse. I don't mean that like people don't care, like they're flippant, but people can't get where you are emotionally. They don't care what happens to you, but they do care how you respond. And so, people were watching me not respond to this thing. So I did my research. I figured out what I could, what I couldn't do. I hired a coach. I arranged to go to an empty gym where I wouldn't get any of the adrenaline, any of the catecholamines that come from exercise, none of the endorphins. I said, hey, man, this is what I want to do. No music, no people, no cheering me on. We're just going to do a little bit of work. Will you do it? And the coach said, yeah. He did some research and showed up to the gym. And as soon as I got there, I got on a bike. I rode for 2 minutes and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the dumbest thing ever. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming. It's like Elizabeth.
Like knee-jerk reaction.
Elizabeth, this is the big one.
Oh, come on. Come on, yes, sir.
That's right. So I started working out and we started out with kettlebell swings. So I started doing kettlebell swings. I did, like 8 or 10. And I dropped the kettlebell and I was crying. And I said, I can't do it. I'm done. And he said, well, does it hurt? Does your chest hurt? Is something wrong? It's like, no, I quit. I'm not going to do it. And in that moment, Mark, I became a quitter. I quit. I was like, I quit. I'm done. And he said, all right, you can quit, but give me 30 seconds of work. Just work 30 seconds and we'll quit. And I said, no, you don't understand. Like I quit. I'm done. And so we went back and forth. We argued. I was cussing. And I'm crying. Like I mean snot and tears and wiping. I mean, it was awful. And he said, I've got, this is, I don't know, like 11:30. He said, I don't have a client until 4 o'clock. I can wait. Just give me 30 seconds of work so we can end on a good note. So finally I was like, all right, yeah, I'll give you 30 seconds. And I was hoping something bad would happen, right? Just to prove to him that I was right. So I did 30 seconds of kettlebell swings and I stopped. He said, all right, we're done. That was good. You did it. I said, man, maybe I can do 30 more seconds. So I did 30 more seconds. I stopped. He said, all right, you won. You did it. Let's be done. I said, why don't I do 30 more seconds and see how I feel? So I did it and I finished. He said, why don't we try 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off? And so I did a whole workout. It took like 45 minutes, but I did the whole workout, 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off.
Yes.
And that's when I got my life back. That was the second. And in that gym visit, I quit. I gave up. I gave my life up. I gave it up. I quit. Like when I tell you I quit, I don't know if you've ever really, really quit anything.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was such a feeling of despair. And in that gym visit, I quit my life and I got my life back all in like an hour. And that's when what's that?
You rediscovered yourself.
Yeah. And that was a hard fight, but that's when it hit me with gratitude. That's when I learned gratitude. That's this, I mean, just in that instant. Um, and that's when I learned success. Like success is the movement. It's just the action to get you to the goal. The goal is not the success because the goal should always be moving, right? And I learned that, all right, I'll never run as fast as I could run. I'll never run the distance. I say never. I probably never will. I have no want to really. But the gratitude is in knowing that. The gratitude is in walking into the gym. The gratitude is in just the completion, just the effort. Take a step, the ground will find you, man. And it finds you in so many wonderful ways. That's where I started really learning about gratitude. And that's when I started writing stuff down. Like I would write down 3 things I was grateful for every day. And I am grateful for this pencil to be able to write in my journal. And it sounds foolish, but it's so real. And it all gets lost in this big stuff and seeing our problems, for me at least.
And gratitude is something that I think a lot of us take for granted.
Yeah.
We won't appreciate anything until it's gone or we lose it, something to that effect,
Yeah.
and as of late, Brother Jeff, I had to really learn to appreciate the small things, like being able to get up in the morning, because some of us didn't.
Right.
Being able to get in my car and going to the gym,
Yeah.
I mean, those are little things, but those are things that we take for granted. And some people are bedridden now. They don't have that ability anymore.
Yep.
And they're probably thinking to themselves, damn, I should have went to the gym. I should have went on the diet. I should have did this, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but for you to overcome 2 times,
Yeah.
first one didn't wake your ass up. The second one, it snapped you into a different reality, though.
Yeah.
But you still were able to find your groove.
I eventually I was, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving you the cliff notes, so it sounds like it was easy, but
I'm sure it
it
wasn't.
it was a struggle. I mean, I was down on myself pretty hard. Some things I'm not proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you working out now, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing it, man. I've got I've been to just about every electrophysiologist in the nation that works with sports medicine. And no real criteria. I meet the criteria for the disease, but nothing, it's my condition is not worsening. If anything, like my ejection fraction, if anybody understands that, my ejection fraction has gotten better since my diagnosis. And my right ventricle was dilated, but I just ran a overnight race. That race took 6 hours. It was overnight through a national forest. So I'd been running for 6 hours 5 days prior to that. So, I mean, I look, I made the choice to either die living or live dying. And I would rather die living for sure. If exercise is going to kill me and getting out and doing things that I love to do is going to kill me, then why live?
Mm. Mm. I got to marinate on that for a second.
Yeah. I know. Believe me, man. I mean, I get mixed reviews when I say that. But like the doctor, my diagnosing doctor, when I went back for my first checkup, I was like, real. I mean, let's be real with me. I'm not going to record this. I'm not going to hold you to it. What can I do? He said, no sports, nothing that's competition related, no sports, nothing that gets adrenaline, nothing, no catecholamines, no endorphins, nothing. It's all bad for your heart. I said, what about like spike ball in the backyard with my kids? He said, no, that's competitive. No, don't do it. And at that point, I was like, I'm not willing. I'm not going to make that compromise.
Mm.
I'm not willing.
Mm.
So,
so you've been working out and you've been doing marathons and.
No, the longest I've ran is for 90 minutes since the episode. I do have a race that I've signed up for in April. It's 25K, so it's about 16 miles. I'm going to do that race. I won't do it competitively, but I'm going to run that race. And I've, I did the CrossFit competition. I mean, that was intense. I burned it down. But I do listen to my body. And I'm not, for any of your listeners, I'm not suggesting you be reckless with your health for anybody that's going through any health issues. But that's my choice. I have chosen to live my life that way. And I've chosen to not give this disease control of my life, but to keep it for myself.
That's that willpower, brother.
Yeah. I guess so.
Now, earlier I illustrated that ARVC is inherited. Do you know who you inherited it?
It was genetic.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm gene elusive currently. So the gene that causes it has not shown up in my panel. So, and they say it just takes time. And I didn't bother getting my parents to do any kind of genetic testing. My kids, all three of my kids are gene elusive. So no, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So all is well in your household.
All is well in my household. Yeah. Yeah. Life is good. We're fumbling along.
That's what's up, man.
Yep.
So what's next for you in your journey, Jeff?
Man, that's a good question. I've learned, it's funny because you're your own best critic, right? You never take your accomplishments seriously. You're just like, oh, no, anybody would have done this. But I've learned that I'm uniquely qualified to talk to folks and to help folks about resilience and fortitude and willpower and mindset. I worked through the muck, and that's what I'm passionate about. So that's what I've been doing. I still own my business. I'm still heavily involved in my business in Atlanta. But I've started doing some coaching, mentoring, and trying to identify folks that share the same struggle that I struggle with in helping people. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. During our initial conversation, you said three things and I wrote them down and and I looked at them earlier and it really hit me. And you said the three things for you: don't die, be kind, and do the right thing.
That's it. I keep it up. Keep it up in my office. Yeah, man. Those are my simple rules. Rule number one: don't die. You're not good to anyone if you don't die.
Right.
Or if you die, rather.
Right. I get you.
Be kind, man. Kindness. And here's the thing: when I was going through everything I was going through, I was in Cleveland at the I was in Cleveland at the Cleveland Clinic, and I had gone out to dinner. I was traveling by myself, going to all these doctors, and I'd gone out to dinner, and I was in despair. I was in total despair. I'd just gotten bad news at Cleveland Clinic. I was eating dinner, and I think I've cried a couple of times. And my waiter stopped. He said, "Hey, man, we've all been watching you, and I don't want to say that you look bad, but you look like you might be unhappy. Do you want to talk?" I said, man, I really don't. I got a bad diagnosis. I'm having a rough day. I really don't. And he said, well, if you don't want to talk, I bet you would like some dessert. I said, hell yeah, I would. So he brought me dessert, man. And it was one of the kindest things. It was just so kind. And I was like, this dude loves me. You know, I'm important. This dude loves me. The world's better with me in it. The shit that I've been thinking about doing,
Yeah.
don't do it.
Mm.
So yeah, man, just be kind. Like I love to ask people. We always say, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" "Oh, I'm dandy." But I like to say, "How's your day going?" "How's your day going?" "Oh, it's fine." "Really? Is it fine?" "Yeah." "Tell me, what is it? 1 to 10. What's your day like?" "Oh, it's a 7." "A 7. All right. What would make it an 8?" "Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it." "I got time. You got time. What would make it an 8? Let's go. Let's
Yep.
go. What would
Yep.
make it an 8?" And it's those little things, man. Just people matter. I talked about my lessons from dying. One of them is deeper questions, right? Ask deeper questions. But one of them is also everybody's got their pain. Everybody's dragging their shit around. And you never know who you're going to talk to that was just as close as I was.
Mm.
And you can change that, right? Let's make it an 8. If it's a 7, let's make it an 8. If it's a 2, let's make it a 3, whatever that is. And then all of a sudden, that person is like, holy shit, I matter to this guy. I don't know who this guy is, but I matter to him. And the world's better with you in it, for sure.
Mm. Lovely words, sir. Those are some lovely words. How can people reach you?
You can follow my Instagram, JD Luther 2.0. I'm on LinkedIn, Jeff Luther, jeffluther.com. I mean, yeah, shoot me a message if anybody wants to chat. You know, I've been through it. I have been through it.
Yeah. Jeff Luther, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. I really, really do appreciate this, man. And
Mark, I've enjoyed it, man. And I'll add that it was fun to talk to you in this professional setting, and it was super fun to talk to you when you were interviewing me a little bit. You're a really
yeah,
good dude.
we laughed a lot.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing what you're doing and giving me a platform to tell my story. I'm grateful. There's gratitude right there. I'm grateful.
So am I. Really, I'm really grateful, and I look forward to us talking outside of this. I mean, we don't have to, to talk via podcast. I mean, hey, we have our information, so let's
Yeah,
not be strangers, man, and let's stay in touch and keep the good fight going, brother.
let's do it. Yeah.
Got you, man. Got you. Well, until then, sir, this has been the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. And remember, guys, self-care is important. So make your mental health and your physical health a priority every day and do it first. With that being said, good night, everybody, and good night, Brother Jeff.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Take care.